Hi guys, welcome back to Geterbrewed. Today I want to look at how to make a beer kit. So we have a few versions of beer starter kits. Some come with heat belts, some come with cleaning equipment in relation to cleaning your bottles and that. So this is going to appeal to everyone because the same basics of making the kit are there. So it's the same components. This is your fermenter lid, airlock, heat belt, as I'd mentioned. Some won't have that. Okay, it depends if you're able to maintain a stable temperature for the fermentation, whether you need a heat belt. For example, if there's an ambient temperature of approximately 20 degrees in the room or area in which you're fermenting, the beer will be fine without one. So what is in a beer kit? So I've briefly mentioned this is the fermenter airlock. There's a stick-on thermometer. So this just pops on here. That'll give you a reading of the temperature of the liquid that's inside the fermenting vessel. We've got a hydrometer. We have a hydrometer video on the YouTube channel teaching you how to use that if you want to check that out. Hydrometer is just for measuring the sugar content in the wort. We have the actual ingredients. So we provide an experimental beer kit range for homebrewers at Geterbrewed. We're pushing the boundaries of what can be achieved from a basic kit. Some will have 2 tubs of liquid malt extract, some will have 3. So this particular kit is the New England IPA kit, so it has 3 tubs. The double IPA kit comes with sugar. So don't get worried about whether there's 2 tubs or 3 tubs for your particular kit. You will have full instructions which are available on the website on each product, which takes you step by step through how to make that beer kit. Hop tea bags are within these resealable hop bags. Isomerized hop extract is in the little test tubes, and we had the yeast there, the yeast as well. So this is a sterilizing solution or granules that comes in our beer starter kits. Sometimes this will change. It could be Star San, Sanaclean, VWP. We're assuming that you've everything sterile today. We're not going to go through the sterilization process step by step. It's very simple. Read the dosage and instructions on the sanitizer you're using, whether that be VWP, Sanaclean, Star San, whatever your preferred sterilizer is. The key thing is that create a solution of sterilizer, put it within the bucket, and everything that's going to come into contact with the beer making process is put in. Airlock, tap, obviously the tap's inside, or the tap's fitted on this occasion, the beer paddle, the scissors for cutting open the yeast, everything. Give it a really good mix and ensure it gets its contact time. So sterilizers need 2 or 3 minutes usually to work. Make sure it's getting that before you rinse it out. So rinse it out and then you're ready to make your beer kit. Making a beer kit could not be easier than what we've selected with the experimental beer kit series. So I'm just going to explain to you how we do that now. So lid off. As I'd said, everything is sterile in here. So we've got our tap fitted. One thing to be aware of, check for leaks during the sterilization process, because you don't want to put your beer kit in here, have the contents, and then realize that there's a leak. So there's a rubber seal inside the bucket on either side of the taps in all of our kits by standard. So get the liquid malt extract. So these just pop open really easily. Take the clip off here, peel back the lid. This is flowable liquid malt, and just empty the contents into the fermentation vessel. So we use all malt kits in the sense that you'll see homebrewing videos and homebrewing products where you can buy the can and then you add a kilogram of sugar. The reason we go for all malt is so that you get a more malty flavor and a better quality beer kit. So by its very nature, liquid malt extract is very sweet and sticky and it can be quite difficult to work with. But one thing that can make it easier is to put it in a bath of lukewarm water, or to use, as we're going to use here, a kettle of boiling water to soften the contents and to get the last bit out of the little buckets. So we have some warm water on hand here. It's just used a kettle of water. So the warm water will help loosen and remove the last bit of the contents. So the aim is that you would like to get all of the contents out of the tub. So I'm just going to soften that up a little bit. Really what you want to do is to break it down to get the contents off the side of the tub. So I'll just give that a little second sitting in there and open up the other tubs. it is important that you would get as much of the contents out as possible. If there's a little bit left, it's nothing to worry about. It's not the most viscous of material, but a little bit of warmth. Obviously we're in the warehouse here, and temperature would be quite cool on the warehouse floor, so it wouldn't be as flowable as what it would be if it was warmed up a little bit. Very sticky, yeah. So you don't want to get it in your, definitely don't want to get it in your clothes. So again, just using a little bit of water, boiling water, to get that last bit of contents out of the tubs. So each of our tubs is 1.5 kilograms of liquid malt extract. Really is the best liquid malt extract available to us from our distribution partners, Crisp. So one of the things that we wanted to achieve whenever we were designing the experimental beer kit series was to remove that perhaps historical idea that you couldn't create a good beer from a homebrew kit. So with the innovation in brewer strains of yeast with isomerized hop extract and with really premium quality liquid malt, it is possible to replicate your favorite beer at home or to create something really unique that's to your liking and to your taste. So the hops, for example, are the same hops that go into commercial breweries that buy from us. We've put them in innovative hop tea bags, which allows us to impart that really super fresh hoppy flavor to beers. So you'll see that you can see that the paddle there is starting to get the liquid malt coming off it with the warm water. You can see that it's quite a thick syrup. It's going to need some water, obviously, to loosen that up and dissolve that into what you're wanting to create into the wort. So beer kit really shouldn't take you longer than 30 minutes to put on. So you're not in a rush here. Be careful. It's sticky liquid malt. You're working with warm water, possibly boiling water. So just be careful that you don't cause yourself a burn or get the sticky malt on yourself. So you can see there that's dissolving really well. So I'm going to empty the contents of the water. You can see that the majority of the liquid malt's out of that. I'm quite happy that I've got nearly everything out. And then you can use that water to start to loosen up the contents that's in the fermenting vessel. You put that extra little bit of boiling water in. Obviously the water's not going to be boiling because it's been sitting there now for a few minutes while we've been working at this, but you can see it starts to make the liquid much more viscous and starts to really take the appearance of wort. For the higher ABV, we've 3 tubs of liquid malt, and for the slightly lower ABV beers, we've 2 tubs. And then there's the double IPA, which has 1 kilogram of sugar plus the 3 liquid malt tubs, just to throw the ABV up that little bit more. Malt extract is created from barley and malt in the same way that all grain brewing is created, and then it's dehydrated to a certain extent, as in it's concentrated, and it arrives in that liquid malt concentrated format. So now you can see that we've emptied the 3 tubs in, and the water out of the 3 tubs that we're really starting to get good movement, good dissolving of the liquid malt. Really lovely malty aroma coming through and a nice colour on it already. So the aim now is to achieve your fermentation temperature using your stick-on thermometer. So I have roughly 4 litres of warm water, which was a 5 litre kettle of water poured into that jug. I've used roughly 4 of those. So my aim now is to add a mix of hot and cold water to achieve a fermentation temperature of whatever it is for the specific kit. So I'm aiming for early 20s, 21 or 22 degrees for this particular kit. What we're wanting to do is, obviously now you can see that that's quite warm, is to add cold water to cool that down and bring it up to the 23 litre mark on the graduation sticker. Now the graduation sticker is approximate. There can be some given that, so you may want to carry out some tests yourself. We know that some homebrewers like to brew these kits short, in that they shorten the liquid literage content to make the ABV a little bit higher. So perhaps you may want to try making 19 litres instead of 23 litres, but for the first time stick to the instructions, and then you can tweak and adjust and experiment as you grow with the hobby. So that's actually a really good mixture now. Okay, so We've now filled up a mixture of warm and cold water, keeping an eye on the fermentation temperature, so it's hovering there just about 22, a few litres of water still to add to finish that off. Okay, so you're aiming to get to 23 litres on your graduation marker. At this stage you want to give everything a really good mix. Try and get a little bit of oxygen into the wort. So the liquid malt's been hydrated with water. We've created a sugary wort. So the next step is adding the isomerized hop extract. The reason we add isomerized hop extract is it allows us to dial in the bitterness level of the beer kits. So beer kits like lagers would have low bitterness level, maybe 20 IBUs, and then obviously IPAs would, you know, be anything from 40, 60. Double IPAs could be 100. So isomerized hop extract is 100% natural hops. It's just carried out in a CO2 extract process that then creates the liquid that we have inside here. So just really simply empty that liquid into your wort and then give that a really good mix. Again, you know, you'll see here that I'm, you know, using utensils like the stir and stuff, just lifting it straight off the table. You'd need to ensure that the table's sterile to be doing that if you're at home, and that, you know, perhaps you might want to set the lid upside down, and knowing that the lid's sterile, set everything on top of that. Always be very careful and considerate to infection risk, because if you introduce an infection or a microbe at this stage, it will or has the possibility to spoil the results for you at a later date. What we want to do now is add the yeast and let fermentation get started. But good point to do at this stage is to take a hydrometer reading, and your little hydrometer container turns into a trial jar if you just move the stopper to the bottom. So I'll just bring this round to allow me to get a sample. The reason you take the sample of the wort now is because if you add the yeast will distort the reading that you get. So we've got our trial jar sample, give it a little spin to get rid of the bubbles. You're recording that as your starting gravity. So the reading on this, 1064, yeah. Taking a hydrometer reading, you've recorded that down on your instructions for future reference. You've aerated the wort by giving it a really good mixture. All that's left to do now is to pitch the yeast. Remember what I was saying about ensuring that your scissors or your knife is sterilized before you cut open the yeast. So good practice is also to, you know, use some sanitizer on the yeast packet. Again, paying attention to contact times, that you allow the sterilization solution some time to work. So that may take up to 3 minutes with some sterilizers. The yeast packet is then opened. So just by cutting it open with your sterilized scissors or your knife, as it is on this occasion. So yeast is just gently sprinkled on top of the wort. So you can rehydrate your yeast. You can create a yeast starter. For the experimental beer kit series, we're giving you the premium range from Lallemand. It's the best yeast that there is in the market, and we're confident that just by sprinkling the yeast onto the top. Now, some of our beer kits come with 2 packets of yeast, some come with 1. Just follow your instructions and follow the description of the product that for the particular beer kit that you have ordered. So not all beer kits need 2 packets of yeast, some of them just need 1. So we have now got the wort's been created, the yeast has been added. What we want to do then is seal this container, create a really good seal with the fermenter. The aim is that you don't want any oxygen to get in, but you do want the carbon dioxide to get out. So just take your time, work your way around the bucket, making sure that it's pushed down firmly until you hear it snapping into place. So the reason we have the airlock is we half fill it with water. What that does is it protects anything from the environment outside of the fermenter gaining access. So we don't want any oxygen ingress or any bacteria or flies or anything to get in. So I have a little bit of sanitizer solution here or a little bit of water, and just fill that up until it's halfway up. Good sign of fermentation kicking off is that this will start to bubble. It's quite a therapeutic sound, so we want to keep this somewhere warm. We want to keep it where the temperature remains constant. Yeast likes to have a steady, constant temperature for a successful fermentation. I don't suggest brewing outside, in sheds or in garages, unless you've got some sort of chamber built around or you're using a fermentator to control the temperature, because it's important that the wort remains at a constant temperature. Yeast likes that, and it produces a better quality beer. Now we've got our gravity reading, we've got our wort in, its fermentation's going to kick off. We're going to keep this somewhere in a constant temperature. Then we just record the fermentation as it takes place. So you can draw off a reading at any stage using your hydrometer tube and your hydrometer, and you can see that that reading will change as the yeast eats the sugar and turns that into alcohol. Then once you hit your final gravity, you'll move on to the next stage, which is dry hopping. So we give hop tea bags. They're good in the sense that they're big enough that it allows the hop pellets to diffuse and to get a little bit of hop flavor and a lot of hop aroma into the beer kit. Now we've did a video on YouTube called Hop Tea Bags. It shows you in detail how to hydrate the hop tea bag. So really simply, get yourself a small jug, a bowl, a cup, a mug, whatever you have to hand. Open up your hop tea bag. So these are nice little resealable bags, so nitrogen flushed and vac packed for ultimate freshness. You can see that they're large tea bags, which allows the hop pellets to diffuse. The reason you're putting them into the little jug of boiling water, one is to get them loosened up and to start getting that aroma and flavour into the beer. The other one's for sterilisation, so it's important that it's carried out in a cup, a jug or a bowl or whatever device that you should. You drop that in there and then you empty the whole contents of the jug into the beer kit at that stage. So we dry hop whenever fermentation is complete. How do we know when fermentation is complete? We're taking gravity readings and we're referring to our instructions so that we can see if the gravity's moved. You will also see the visual stop of the bubbling. The bubbling will stop when fermentation is complete. On a beer kit with the quality of the yeast that we're providing, it's brewer strains yeast, premium quality, usually 5 to 7 days. It can on occasion take up to 10 days. So that's why it's important to use your hydrometer to know whenever your beer is ready to progress to the next stage. Primary fermentation is taking place, and by primary fermentation we mean that you've created your wort, your yeast has been added, and it's fermented away for 5, 7 or 10 days, whatever length of time it takes to get to the final gravity in your recipe sheet. And you're checking that by using your hydrometer reading. So the next stage is to dry hop. So we have these innovative hop tea bags. We have a YouTube video which shows you how to make up the hop tea bags, but really quickly I'm just going to take the 3 hop tea bags that we have in this particular kit. So there's 20 grams of the best quality hop pellets that there is available in the market in each bag. On this particular kit, it's Mosaic, Citra and Galaxy in the New England IPA. So we've got our 3 tea bags. We're going to put those into the little jug. I've just put some boiling water in there. The reason that we're doing this is that we want to sterilize the contents of the bags. Now they are packed in a food safe environment here, but what we want to do is just make sure that the boiling water infuses around the tea bags. So I'm creating what would be classified as a hop tea at this stage, just to add a little bit of flavour and some aroma into your beer kit. So the aroma is really lovely coming off the hops. 3 really sort of popular big hitting hop varieties, Galaxy, Citra and Mosaic. So we've created a hop tea. All we want to do then at this stage is open up the fermenter, obviously being aware that we don't want to let anything get in while we're doing that. So everything should be sterile around it. This should be sterile. So we're lifting that up very quickly. The whole contents in and close up, ensuring it's got a good seal all the way around, making sure that we're sealed up again and protected. You can allow the dry hop to infuse for a few days, anywhere between 3 to 5 days, depending on how hoppy you want the final beer to be. And then what we do is we would remove, if say we've got a heat belt on or we have it in a fermentation chamber, at this stage then what we want to do is allow the temperature to drop. getting ready for what we would call crash cooling before you move on to the bottling stage. Okay, so that's the basics of putting together a Geterbrewed experimental beer kit series. A lot of beer kits are very similar. We've just tried to lift the bar that little bit higher with the quality of the ingredients, the fact that it's all malt, the fact that we use innovative tea bag technology, the freshest hop pellets, brewer strains of yeast, and we can fine tune the bitterness levels, use isomerized hop extracts. So if you have any questions or you're unsure about any of this, get in contact with us via our social channels, drop us a comment in the messages below, and we'll get back to you as quickly as we possibly can. Thanks so much for watching today. Happy brewing.